Alan Moore has been a staple in the comic book industry for as long as I can remember. And while over the last few years he's come under fire for a lot of his weird choices and criticisms of the industry as a whole, some of them justified, one cannot deny the impact that he's had on comics. Today we're going to be taking a look at the man's most celebrated books and what do I think of them. Ladies, gentlemen, and others, today we are discussing Alan Moore. One of the first things that comes to people's minds when they first see Alan Moore is that he looks a little bit creepy. Personally, I think he looks like the fourth member of ZZ Top. However, the one book that has always been attached to Alan Moore's name is Watchmen. Watchmen is a story that focuses on characters that Alan Moore chose to adapt from the Charlton era of comics, centering around the premise that it's 1985 and what would happen if our favorite superheroes were placed in a real-life situation. Watchmen was the first of its kind. It was a deconstruction of what it meant to be a hero in a real-life world. What Moore did was that he took the Charlton characters and he flipped them and renamed them and changed them up a little bit. For example, everybody's favorite Ayn Rand nutjob Rorschach was actually based around The Question. And Night Owl was loosely based around Blue Beetle and Batman. Watchmen was brilliant and is brilliant in so many different ways. As the story starts out, a member of the formerly known group, the Watchmen, has been murdered. His name, the Comedian. Rorschach, another former member of the group, is investigating the murder. The issue is here that thanks to the Keene Act, superheroes are now illegal. What follows here is a story about politics, God, and ultimately, a tragedy. This book truly is the Hamlet of comics. For those of you out there that haven't read the book or have seen the film, I won't be giving away the ending here, but I will say that it is very controversial. Controversial in the sense that if you read this in a group of people, fights will break out between people deciding what the right side was. I love Watchmen, and Dave Gibbons' use of the 9-panel grid is masterful. It's a story that's timely and has aged better than it has any right to. At the same time, it's also powerfully frightening and very relevant to today. The next choice on my list goes to Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. I am so happy that this is finally getting the absolute treatment that it deserves. Taking the reins after Bernie Wrightson and Len Wein had created the character, Alan Moore reconstructs the mythos of the Swamp Thing. He introduces the Parliament of Trees, the Green, and we find out that Swamp Thing was never really even human. You see, we find out that when Alec Holland had died in a tragic fire and his body was dumped in the lake, it was just the plants absorbing his memories and consciousness. It is here that we get a book that defies all expectations from a DC comic. Moore tackles issues such as gun control, pollution, and violence. At its heart though, it is a love story as well. His Swamp Thing run is a classic for all the right reasons, and you even get a badass fight with Batman. Make no mistake though, this is a horror comic at its heart, and there are plenty of grotesque scenes and gruesome moments. The next book on my list is probably one that is more relevant than it has ever been. I'm talking about V for Vendetta. The story takes place on Guy Fawkes Night in London in 1997. We start off with a 16-year-old young girl named Evie Hammond. Unfortunately, Evie is trying to sexually solicit men in this story. She attempts to solicit men who are members of the state police. Things take a turn for the worse when the state police attempt to rape and kill her, when suddenly a dark-cloaked man wearing a Guy Fawkes mask shows up and saves her life. We soon find out that the man is named simply V. V ends up blowing up Parliament as a symbol to start the revolution.
The revolution has begun.
Fearing for her life, V ends up taking Evie into her underground lair to protect her. We soon find out that this is a world that has been taken over by fascists and corporations. As the book continues, V goes out dispatching members of these corporations and these different fascist entities, and slowly becoming the symbol for freedom. This is a book that is daring, brave, bold, and more relevant than it has ever been. And I think that's why it's so special to me and why it's my favorite one of Alan Moore's different works. It's very easy to see how this society ended up succumbing to the rule of this fascist state. Fear, paranoia, and misunderstanding lend to these types of things. The book is simply put a classic, and David Lloyd's art in here is spectacular. Oftentimes using a lot of negative space to shroud V, it just lends to the mysteriousness of his character. If you have not read this, then you absolutely should. It is a must for any comic book reader. The last book on my list has to go to The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke is a book that has recently come under fire from a lot of different sides, mainly for its depiction of Barbara Gordon in the story. As the story starts out, Batman is returning to Arkham Asylum where he's gonna confront Gotham, and he is basically telling him he's done. He's tired with all the fighting, and one of the two will eventually kill each other. Batman soon finds out that the Joker actually isn't even in Arkham Asylum and he escaped a few hours ago. We then find out that the Joker is unleashing his best plan yet. He wants to prove that after one single bad night, anybody can turn evil. Anyone can go insane, or anyone can lose their mind. He does this by capturing Commissioner Gordon and shooting Barbara Gordon in the stomach, which ends up crippling her. To top things off, he ends up taking photos of her in very lewd ways. Batman ends up hunting the Joker and he finds him at this rundown carnival. The Joker has set up this whole carnival specifically just to break Commissioner Gordon. For those of you that haven't read it, I won't be spoiling the ending, but suffice to say, it is powerful. On top of that, we also get a basic idea of what the Joker's origin could be. I say could be because the Joker even says in the book that if he had a choice for his origin, it would be multiple choice, and he remembers it differently at times. Alan Moore's writing is as sharp as ever here, and Brian Boland's art is beautiful. It is spectacular. He draws a mean-looking Joker. This happens to be one of my favorite Batman stories, and over the past few years, it's gotten a lot of criticism, like I've already mentioned, for its portrayal of Barbara Gordon. Personally, I can understand that, but it has not deterred my enjoyment of an amazing tale. If you've ever been curious about the Joker's origin, this is a must-buy. This is a book that perfectly depicts the relationship between the Joker and the Batman. There you have it, guys. Those are my choices for the must-read Alan Moore comics. The man's been around for a long time, and I'm sure you have your own personal choices down below in the comment section. Please let me know what you think, and what are your choices. If you want, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Those links are found in the description. You will find links to all these books on Amazon. If you order those books, I get a cut of the profit. Doesn't come out of your wallet, comes out of Amazon's. And of course, there's always the Patreon. It's always appreciated, guys. I love you, and I will speak with you soon. Bye.